Somewhere, right now, there is a photograph of you as a baby. You have seen it 100 times. You know the room. You know the blanket. You know the look on your mother's face. But you don't remember any of it. You weren't there. Not in the way you think. That moment happened to your body. It did not happen to your memory. And the strange part is not that you forgot it. The strange part is that everyone forgets it. Every human who has ever lived has lost the first few years of their own existence. Not faded, not blurred, gone. Scientists have a name for this. They call it infantile amnesia. And the real answer for why it happens is far stranger than simply, babies don't pay attention. Start with the obvious question. Were you even conscious back then? Of course you were. You cried when you were hungry. You smiled at faces. You flinched at loud sounds. Your brain was active, alert, and learning faster than it ever will again in your life. So if you were aware and learning, why is there nothing left? Sigmund Freud was one of the first to take this seriously. Over a century ago, he noticed that his adult patients almost never recalled anything before the age of 3 or 4. He called it infantile amnesia, and he guessed it was a kind of psychological repression, a wall the mind builds to hide early experiences it cannot process. For decades, that idea stuck. It felt right. It felt like the mind protecting itself from something. But here is the twist. It is not repression. Your brain is not hiding those years from you. It never filed them away in the first place. Think about how memory actually works. To remember something, your brain has to do 3 things. It has to encode the experience. It has to store it. And later, it has to retrieve it. Most people assume forgetting is a retrieval problem, like a book that is still on the shelf but you can't find it. Babies suggest something else entirely. For them, the book was never bound. The pages were never stitched together at all. The part of your brain responsible for stitching those pages together is called the hippocampus. It is a small, curved structure deep in your brain, shaped a little like a seahorse, which is actually where its name comes from. The hippocampus takes scattered moments, a smell, a sound, a face, and binds them into a single retrievable memory. Without it working properly, experiences happen and then simply evaporate. And here is the key fact. In a baby, the hippocampus is still under construction. In 2014, neuroscientists Paul Franklin and Sheena Jocelyn, working out of the Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto, ran an experiment that changed how scientists understood this entire process. They studied infant mice, whose brains develop in patterns similar to human infants. They found that the hippocampus, during early development, is producing new neurons at an extremely high rate. This process is called neurogenesis. It sounds like a good thing. New brain cells, more capacity, more growth. But Franklin and Jocelyn discovered something counterintuitive. All those new neurons were rewiring the existing circuit so fast that older memories were being overwritten before they could stabilize. Read that again. Your brain wasn't failing to store your earliest memories. It was actively building so much new neural architecture that it kept knocking the wiring loose before anything could set. When the researchers slowed down neurogenesis in young mice, the mice retained memories for much longer. When they sped up neurogenesis in older mice, memories that should have lasted started disappearing too. The rate of new brain cell growth was directly tied to the rate of forgetting. Your earliest years weren't a quiet, undeveloped void. They were the loudest, most chaotic construction site your brain will ever experience. And construction sites don't preserve the past. They bulldoze it to build something new. So why do construction sites eventually slow down? Why can you remember your 5th birthday but not your 1st? This is where psychologist Patricia Bauer's research becomes essential. Bauer has spent decades studying how memory develops in early childhood, and her work shows that the hippocampus doesn't switch on like a light. It matures gradually, piece by piece, well into the school years. Toddlers can form short-term memories almost immediately. A 2-year-old can recall something from last week, but the ability to hold on to an experience for years, to file it permanently into your personal history, develops on its own much slower timeline. This is also tangled up with something else only humans really do at scale: language. Bauer's research, along with work from developmental psychologist Carol Peterson, points to something fascinating. The age at which people's earliest memories begin to appear lines up closely with when children develop a strong enough vocabulary to narrate their own experiences to themselves. Peterson's interviews with young children found that kids who had more advanced language skills at a given age tended to retain earlier memories than kids who didn't. Memory, it turns out, isn't just stored as raw sensation. It gets scaffolded onto words. And if you don't yet have the words for scared or lost or happy, there is less for that memory to hang on to. This is why your earliest memories rarely arrive as a clear scene. They arrive as a feeling first, a sense of warmth, a flash of fear, a specific smell that hits you decades later and stops you in your tracks, with no story attached to it at all. The feeling survived. The narrative never got built. So here is what was actually happening in those lost years. Your hippocampus was under heavy construction, rewiring itself faster than it could preserve. Your language system hadn't yet developed enough scaffolding to hold a memory in place. And your sense of self, the actual you, who experiences a memory as something that happened to me, was still forming too. Without a stable narrator, there's no one to file the story under. Here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. This means the version of you that existed for the first 3 or 4 years of your life is, in a very real sense, lost to you specifically. Not destroyed, not erased like a hard drive. Simply never converted into something retrievable. That child laughed, cried, learned to walk, said their first word, and felt love and fear in ways that shaped the adult you are right now. And none of it is available to you on request. It shaped you completely, and you cannot visit it. This is strange enough on its own, but it gets stranger when you realize the system never fully shuts off. Your hippocampus keeps producing new neurons throughout your entire life, just at a dramatically reduced rate compared to infancy. This means the forgetting machinery that wiped your earliest years never disappears. It just slows down enough that your adult memories can finally outpace it. You are not living in a brain that perfectly preserves your past. You are living in a brain that is in a permanent, quiet negotiation between building new things and keeping old ones intact. So why does any of this matter to you today, scrolling through old photos you don't remember being in? Because it reframes something you've probably felt your whole life without naming it. That strange sensation when you look at baby pictures and feel almost no connection to the child in them. People sometimes describe guilt over this, like they should feel something more. But there was nothing to fail to remember. The system simply hadn't finished being built yet. You're not missing a memory. You're missing a structure that didn't exist. It also explains something about how you build memories right now, as an adult. Every time you learn something dramatically new, your brain undergoes a smaller version of that same chaotic rewiring. This is part of why intense periods of change, a new job, a new city, a new relationship, can sometimes make the recent past feel strangely foggy. Your hippocampus is busy. It is laying down new circuitry for your new life, and in the process, some of the old wiring gets disturbed. You are not a fixed archive of everything that has ever happened to you. You are something closer to a living document, constantly being rewritten, where some early drafts were lost before they were ever truly saved. Tonight, when you fall asleep, your brain will quietly begin doing the same kind of editing it has done every night of your life, deciding what stays sharp and what gets allowed to fade. So the next time someone asks if you remember being a baby, you can finally give them the real answer. It isn't that you forgot. It's that the part of you capable of remembering hadn't been built yet. And somewhere, right now, there is a photograph of a person who was you, living a life you cannot remember, who quietly built the foundation for the very brain you are using to read these words.